Hey, this is Alex Piak, and welcome to the Dominant Agent Podcast, the place where real estate agents and brokers come to learn directly from the top agents, coaches, trainers, and industry influencers on how to build profitable, scalable, and enjoyable businesses by becoming the dominant agent in their market so they can live life on their terms. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Dominant Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Piak. As you know, we're committed to helping real estate agents build profitable, scalable, and enjoyable businesses by bringing you access to the absolute best agents, coaches, trainers, and influencers in the industry. And our guest today fits all of those. Today, we're going to be talking to Matt Curcio. Matt's been a licensed realtor since 2001, and by 2003, he was a top producer in his Remax office. As an individual agent, he was selling 40 to 55 units annually. In 2010, Matt built a small real estate team and raised his production to over 100 sales annually. Matt sold more than 1,000 homes in the New Jersey area in his career. He's been recognized by Remax as a top individual 10 producer, top 5 team producer for multiple years in a row. And as part of that, is now part of the Remax Hall of Fame Club. Matt's also been recognized by the Wall Street Journal and Real Trends as a top 25 team in the state of New Jersey. Matt, welcome to the Dominant Agent Podcast, my friend.
What's up? How are we doing today?
Doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you carving out some time today to jump on and share with the folks what you are doing in your business that is working so well and is giving you the level of success that you've been able to experience. And a quick background, I've known Matt now since I moved to Dallas in 2014. So it's been a while. We were part of same coaching, training, and mastermind. So I've got to know Matt really well over the last couple of years and watch his business grow. So I know there will be some amazing nuggets that we chat about today. I know you're doing a lot on video with your Facebook. I see that. So, Man, anything else, any other introduction we want to make sure we share with the agents who are listening today?
No, man. I've done, sold a lot of real estate and always had my individual production. So what I would say is when I say I sold 1,000 homes, my team was very small. And, I was still a large amount of the production every year. And there wasn't any files that I didn't personally touch as a team leader. I never got to the point where I had 20 and 30 people on my team. I was always 4 or less active agents at one time. My knowledge is hands-on real estate. It is not, I guess the team leaders that are more of a controller, so what I can share is how I personally continue to sell real estate, on a weekly basis.
That's what we're all about, man. As you know, we talked a little bit before we jumped on, is the goal of the podcast, which I believe makes it really unique from most real estate podcasts, is, man, we want our listeners to hear something that you share that is one of your business pillars and say, I resonate with that. I'd like to put that into my business, and then actually give them the how-tos, because I'm tired of being told, here's what you do, and nobody telling you how to do it. Like, just knowing what to do. Listen, then I got to go figure it all out. Trial, error, spends a lot of time. There's a lot of pain in doing that. So we want to give people actionable steps. So I'm excited because you're actually doing the work. We could share with some agents. And I know you've transitioned over to EXP, and you've got a good following and partnership with agents now across the country. So you've taken on this new role of sharing with those people as well, because you're not just bringing people on and letting them kind of figure it out. You're sharing your successes with those people. And, to me, the reason why I loved real estate coaching was because once I could teach somebody how to do something selfishly, it increased my level of mastery. It's doing it. But man, when you can teach it, you as the teacher, and I think people don't recognize this, you really internalize and you mastered at a whole new level when you have the ability to teach. So I'm excited to talk to you about that today as well, because I know you're doing really, really well and grown a great following and partnership with your EXP family as well. So let's dive right into, you got into real estate, 2001. What led you into real estate?
Believe it or not, I wasn't interested in selling real estate at all. I was young. I was 20, 21. I was a bartender, landscaper. I'm a very handy person. So I always worked well with my hands. I relocated in New Jersey. I moved a couple hours south, 3 hours south. So I had no friends and anything after high school, after my first year of college. And I basically dropped out of college. I hated it. I was only there to play baseball, and that didn't work out. The grades weren't up to par, staying up to par. So my brother actually hired me in my career at the time, which was architecture. So I was always into houses. But when I learned how to draw, I knew how to draw homes because I did it in high school, but I just didn't enjoy sitting behind a desk. The guys that really draw the plans and all that stuff, they don't really get out in the field much, right? So I started working with my hands again, landscaping. I enjoyed bartending, and I was making some decent money, and I wanted to learn how to invest. And somebody pointed me to the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that actually changed my life. So I hadn't read a book. I don't think I read a book through high school.
Well, we have that in common. I always tell the story. I'm embarrassed now that I've got a son and a daughter on the way to tell it. But my senior year, I had an accounting class, and it was the first year our school had ever offered this advanced accounting. And I returned the book in the original cellophane wrapping that the teacher handed it out on day one. So you and I got that love, so to speak, for school, that same feeling. It's awesome, man.
I was not I never, and I still don't read books. Luckily today we have Audible, right? So I listen to a lot of books in all the trainings that I've been to, my best mentors and everything else read a lot or listen a lot. So I read that book from front to back and realized that I needed to, invest in real estate. I ended up going to the class, getting my real estate license, and happened to run into somebody I knew, right? Not a friend or anything like that, but an acquaintance. We were dating girls from the same area or something. And he was in sales, and he was only a couple years older than me. So pretty young to be in real estate sales. And I said, look, man, I'm getting my license. And he said, why don't you work with me? I said, all right, whatever. I'm a bartender. I'm making enough money. I cover my bills. Sure, I'll learn real estate sales. Why not? And again, changed my life. So we were hustling early on when HUD used to send out a list every week. So I worked well with investors first, then eventually took a cold calling course called Sweat Hogs with Floyd Wickman, which has, any Keller Williams people, that's all that I think it's called Bold. It's just a copy of Sweat Hogs. And that actually taught me the calling for business, and that set my career off. So shortly after that, in order to get to Las Vegas, which was my first trip ever in real estate, I had to sell $5 million, and I think I did that in my third year, which is hard in my market because our average price is under $200,000. So busted my butt, listed and sold a lot of real estate, got to that mastermind, and kind of stayed on top since then. So
that's awesome. So those first couple of years, you get into real estate, you take the Sweat Hogs course. So were the first couple of years just a hustle with prospecting?
Absolutely. See, it was different, right? And I kind of tell everybody who joins now that they have the luxury of Facebook and Instagram and all the other. Well, I think those two are the only ones that you can sell real estate on consistently. But we didn't have that, right? So what we had, being young, hungry real estate agents, it was hard to walk in a home and be respected at 22 years old and 23 years old to say, well, how are you going to sell a house? I got this other guy who's been selling real estate for 25 years. So that was hard for us. So we worked well with investors, and we basically brought investors in first. HUD Homes used to come out on a weekly list. So we would be waiting on Thursday mornings for that list. As soon as that list hit our inboxes or the website, I forget. But basically we used to go and just call investors, everyone we had on our list, say, hey, who wants it? The good ones are here, here, and here. Who wants it? and then run out and show them. And then obviously I was young, so 23 was a little bit young, but I had some older friends that were around 25, 26 that started buying homes. And yeah, once I learned the Sweat Hogs way, which was back then, grab the phone book, open it to whatever street you were calling, and start at the back, because every other agent started at the front, right? So if it's 1 to 200, you start at number 200 and go backwards.
Oh, there's genius right there, man. I'm always big believer of, do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So we would start at the end of the street, work our way backwards. And,
what were you offering them? What were you calling saying?
It was a simple script. Still know it to this day, man. Hey, Alex, this is Matt Curcio with ABC Realty. I have a real estate matter to discuss with you. Do you have a minute?
Yeah.
Are you interested in selling your home now or in the near future? That's it.
So you were just grinding through, just calling.
No, and if you said, no, I'm not interested in selling my home now or in the near future, great. How about any friends or family? We're good realtors. Awesome. We're local to the market. And I started on the street that I lived on. Yeah. So if I can tell anybody to prospect anywhere, before you call an expired, before you call a for sale by owner, call your neighborhood. Nobody cares about your value in your neighborhood more than you. And people will respect that over, a top selling agent, not a top selling agent, but, an average agent in a community. They'll respect the fact that you have more. And even if it's your parents' house or I happen to live with my brother at the time, but I could still say confidently, hey, nobody cares more about this neighborhood's values than I do. So
yeah, that's true. You have instant rapport with that audience. So that's a good little takeaway, right? If you're going to start prospecting, prospect your own neighborhood, become the dominant agent in the neighborhood you already live, because, you probably have some influence there. People have seen you. So, you'll have some, they'll recognize you at least. So that's a good little takeaway. I like that. That's cool. Yeah. So first couple of years you're doing that. So it sounded like you're fairly buyer heavy then, right?
Yeah. I was buyer heavy before I took the sales course. The sales course taught me it taught me a script for expireds, for sell by owner, and, working with people, sales skills in general, the things that me and you probably take for granted now, asking open-ended questions and all the sales type of things that you would learn in a sales course. So, after I learned, I guess, the expireds and for sale by owners is when I started prospecting more towards listings and became that listing agent. And most realtors do this as well. And I also followed financial needs and my life. In my 20s, early 20s, I didn't have any kids. So I was cool with starting late, working late. I'm still okay with that. But as my kids are a little bit older now, but as I grew in the business, when my kids were real young, I didn't have time. I had to structure and be perfectly, working in my calendar to have the right time home when I had to be at home. And even I went through a couple of years where I was single dad, and talk about mastering your time, mastering your calendar. That's where, it forced me into becoming a listing agent, because I couldn't jump at, a buyer who had to go see a house Monday and Tuesday at 5:30 or 6 o'clock because I had to go pick up my kids from daycare. Right. So now I had to say no to that buyer. Maybe I lost that buyer, but I could move a listing appointment to 7:30. Right. And then there was times when I was before I had kids or anything like that, I didn't care if you want to see a house 8:30 at night. I was cool with it. Let's go check it out. If the sun's up, let's go see.
So was that like a real defining point then in your business, in your life? I mean, having to be single dad and manage your time and really master time management. Is that when the decision to, okay, I need to focus on listings right now? Was that really your defining moment then?
I mean, definitely early on, before I had my kids, maybe when I knew they were coming. I forget the time. I'd say I was always structured. I was structured very quickly using technology, right? Rising to be the top agent in your office in your 20s is not common, right? Especially back in the time when I did it. But I had to go find better salespeople. So I'm a big believer in go find better salespeople first, right? Learn from them like you can on this interview. I had to go fly to Las Vegas with a group from Floyd Wickman's master class. Then I had, as soon as I could, I went to all the different Remax conventions and stuff like that to find out what those guys were really doing so that I could kind of pick the things that I liked. And that's where I got into the tech side of real estate because I was, younger than the average age. I think the average age in my company, the average age of a realtor, I think, is mid 40s. And I was, pretty successful at 23 to 25 years old. So being on the cutting edge of technology, I worked with softwares. So, I mean, literally I can control personally without having an administrator. I could probably control 10 sales and everything else in business and putting on probably 10 listings every single month, where your average agent will make 2 deals a month seem like a 40-hour-a-week job.
100%. So that's the leverage part. That's the ability to scale. Like when we talk about the podcast, one of my things that I'm passionate about is teaching agents to build a scalable business. Because you're right. I've seen agents have 2 sales going on and they are working like they got a $10 million a year business. It's like, hey, you only got 2 sales. There's 2 home inspections. Okay, there's 2.5 hours. Like, what are you doing, right? And it's a lack of organization. It's not having some of those scalable technologies. So what were some of those technologies that maybe you used then or that you're using now that allow you to have scalability?
Yeah, so I've always been a bit into tech, and I understand it very well. And I wouldn't say I'm the best agent, but I'd say I'm probably one of the best at utilizing technology to its fullest and knowing about it all, right? But the first thing you need is a CRM, and I kind of host a training locally and across the country, but where I share, the smaller you are, the simpler things that you can do are, if you're doing 2 deals a month, basically, under 4 deals a month, you can use checklist apps, Keep by Google, keep.google.com. I think Wunderlist by Microsoft, then Evernote, Trello, all those different checklists. You can just make a checklist of things that has to happen in your transaction. And when you simplify your transaction down to order title, make sure the mortgage commitment's in, make sure this is done, make sure your inspection's done. When you get 10 items in a checklist, don't confuse it. That's it. That's all there is to do. And you having conversations, with the same realtor every other day on one transaction is a waste of time, and you'll eliminate a lot of wasted time in your transactions. The average top producer spends less than 6 hours on a file. Low producers triple that, right? So they're going to spend 20 hours on one file versus me. I'm going to probably spend 5 to 6 hours. That my hands are on, off. My clients have a great experience, and that's it. So again, as you're newer, start with checklists, building your email signatures to do things like ordering title, following up with people, and even following up with consumers, right? Because you're going to have buyers, and if you don't have a CRM yet, use a checklist app. And then once you get into a CRM, any sort of CRM will work. Don't go buying expensive CRMs until you have thousands of contacts that you need to really work on. But I always say start early, find the problems that you're trying to solve, and buy the software that fixes that only instead of the one that fixes everything in the world, but you'll never implement it because it would take, a month of a full-time job to learn how to use it all, right? Which no realtor can dedicate. So, so that's what I'd say, and I was young in using plans, which come in CRMs. So, and back then it was called Agent 2000. It was, it was a Remax. I don't know if it didn't start a Remax product, but it ended up a Remax product. And I still got a buddy using it now, and I still use an old one that we're just transitioning off of right now. But, again, simple, just plans. When the house goes under contract and I have the buyer, here's what I got to do. Tells me what to do, tells my admin what to do. And, again, if I were new, under 20 units, under 40 units, I would use that same stuff. And that's what I'm using now myself to manage my production, my team. We run it all under a small, simple software right now. So.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that. I see this question posted daily from real estate agents. What's the best CRM? I'm looking for a new CRM. And the answer is the best CRM is the one that you use, period. You don't need all the shiny, the shiny objects and things like that. You need one, and you nailed it. Being simple and easy to implement will trump anything else, because if it's too complicated, you won't use it. But I think that's awesome. I mean, most agents say that they're really busy. And the truth is they're busy doing busy work. They're not busy doing productive work. If you carved out some time to map out your buyer transaction, map out your seller transaction, and created a checklist that kept you organized, your efficiency, they would be blown away.
Yep.
Blown away. You nailed it, man. I remember doing that early on. Similar to you, got into real estate. I was 20 years old, Remax agent. So I used the same software. And it was just like, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel every transaction, which a lot of people are. If there was something that I knew I did every single time, it became a system. It became a process. I never had to think about it ever again. I knew that within 24 hours of an executed contract, the attorney got it. The lender got it. I knew within 14 days, the home inspection repair addendum was due. And I just created those plans. But yes, it's work in the beginning, but not much. I mean, what do you spend? Maybe an hour, 90 minutes on the buy side, hour, 90 minutes on the sell side. You've got your master checklist, and now those things are evergreen, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Just follow and just, as you build it, you perfect it. Every deal you learn something. Oh, I kind of miss this. Wouldn't it be nice if, I had an email that went to the consumer that said this after they're under contract, and just implement it on the next deal. Because it's ever changing with technology, with mortgage guidelines, with title guidelines. But in general, it's simple. It's not that hard. We confuse the system more than, we confuse the process more than anybody else.
Yeah. And the beauty of having a system and a process, just really nailing scalability in your businesses. When you hire somebody, it's nice to have a system versus you having to try to teach them and onboard them with stuff that's in your head that you never put on paper, because they're not real estate agents. They haven't closed 1,000 transactions. They don't know what the hell is supposed to happen. Yep. And then you're getting frustrated. It's like, oh, I got to do everything. Yeah. Well, it's because you never took the time to actually build a system. Right. Like now you got to invest in people and systems. So that's huge when it comes to scalability. I'm curious because, I mean, your hustle allowed you to really produce quickly. Were there any significant challenges that maybe you faced early or even just throughout your career in general?
I mean, my age when I was early, I'd say that was a underlying, concern for me, that I believe I definitely probably lost clients, just based on age, meeting people. But then other people gave young, hungry guys a shot.
Yeah. So, when you were super young, did you ever run the guaranteed home sale?
I did. Jersey is very, very strict, so I did not even look at that product until late. I almost did the. Oh God! What Kinder Reese? What did he do? He did like a $10,000 party for a bonus on all his sales.
Right? Oh yeah, the seller. It's on the tip of my tongue. It was the seller something. And $500 per closing got put into a fund. And when you close 20 sales, you would do a big ass party. Yeah. In that $10,000 check, you would actually give away to a bonus as an agent who sold one of your properties. Yeah. It was a great recruiting because now all these agents wanted to sell your property, yep. Especially if if you sold 60 homes a year, that means you threw 3 parties. Yep. And agents had the opportunity to win $10,000. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was awesome. And I tried running it, and I'm glad I made the calls I did because New Jersey sees that as a lottery, and we have Atlantic City, obviously, so they shut that down very quickly. Somebody I knew that was in a different market in Jersey got fined $5,000 for even creating it and putting it
Oh
on
man.
for like a month.
Yeah, I remember
No, I didn't. I never did the guaranteed sale thing until as I grew in my career. I eventually ended up with being endorsed by Barbara Corcoran. So at that point, I ran the guaranteed sale, which is part of the TV commercial where she introduces her, selected agent for my market was South Jersey. So at that point, I ran it, but I never really published it too much outside of just the TV commercial.
I was asking just because I was, same thing in her early 20s, right? I remember being 22, 23, running the guarantee, and I didn't think anything of it. I just ran it as my marketing, and I was same thing. I could buy the house. I mean, I was successful early, but I can only imagine the 50, 60-year-old seller seeing this kid who looked 12. I was 22 saying, I'll buy your home for cash. Like the bullshit meter had to be going off. And I always wondered why, I was like, man, how come this thing isn't working for me? I should be selling 100 homes a year, like just on this one program. Because I knew other agents that were killing it with that program. And it wasn't until later on I looked back. I mean, I'm talking like 5 years later. I looked back, I came across my old Remax ads. I was like, well, nobody called you because you looked like you were 15 years old, and they probably said, this kid's fully shit. He can't buy my house.
Right. And I was, you were in the East Coast too. So my perception of that program is everybody calls it nonsense.
Yeah. If it's too good to be true,
right.
That's marketing. It's got to really serve and solve a specific challenge. But if it's too good to be true or unbelievable, sometimes you don't get the results you desire. And unfortunately, nobody told me that, right? So I had paid a ton of money that I didn't have to go get coached by a company. I went to these mega agent trainings and I came back, dude, and implemented everything and nothing worked because I didn't know, I didn't know the how-tos, and no, don't do that. That really doesn't work. That won't work in your market. I didn't know that shit. And I was spending, $5, $6, $7 a month on all the stuff they told me to buy. And it was definitely a challenging point. But man, so tell me a little bit about what you're doing now. What are your primary lead sources when it comes to generating buyer and seller deals?
So general, look, my business over the last 5 years has been consistent. Again, I'm personally still selling about 50 homes a year. My team brings it up to, my team is changing here at EXP, right? Because now I have a group of people that over 100 agents that I'm helping grow their businesses. So I'm an open book for them. So my team of realtors that work directly with me, that respond to my sales calls is shrinking. Because I'm focusing a little bit more time on my downline, call it. But in general, still actively selling. About 40% of my business comes from my sphere. Okay, and that's tracked through my last, I guess 4 years of everything that we track. So that's still running to be a large number. Beyond that, typical buyer and seller. I have a little bit of money on Zillow, less than $500 a month.
In a specific zip code?
So I'm still grandfathered to have my own listings, luckily.
Gotcha.
So I've been doing this long enough. So I get my own listings, and I don't know if it's a zip code or two or whatever, mainly for the profile and some leads. And again, my own listing is important to me, right? Because I'm still selling a decent amount of real estate to want leads on my own listings to only come to us on Zillow.
Yep.
I was realtor.com. I shut that off recently. However, I'm hearing their leads are getting better again.
Yeah, I've heard that in some markets, man. I have some clients down in Jacksonville, and they had shut realtor.com off. And then about a year later, assessing their business, they realized they were closing deals from it. So they actually just upped their budget again in a couple of specific zip codes.
Yeah, I got a realtor in my office, one of my first team members, and he's got 2 deals pending from it in only a few months. So, and I just let mine shut off and look, you can have freerealtor.com leads. The company's called OpCity, right? You'll never pay a monthly fee, and as long as your broker signs up, it's 30% for the lead under 150, 35% for a lead over 150,000. So that's not a bad thing. I closed one of those just in testing it. What else? I have some pay-per-click stuff running for listing leads, not only mine, but other listings in certain areas. If I were to tell people to spend money, I'd say learn how to market on not only Facebook, but you have to be a little bit bigger than that. But learn about it, right? And what I would give out is tips on buying a home, tips on selling a home, create your booklet, first-time buyer booklet, experienced buyer booklet, and then selling your home guide. Offer that, on Facebook so it never leaves Facebook, and then you can remarket to them and all that stuff. And then, beyond that, I do a little bit of expired work. So I don't.
Okay, cool. So you're still doing expired.
Yeah. Obviously today we're in the middle of the COVID issue.
Right.
So we kind of shut off the daily mailings until everything's kind of lifted, because I just think it's a waste. Anybody who we're talking to is frozen in their house, right? So we're on week 5 right now. So,
and there's a huge takeaway there, man. So you spent the last 20 years building your brand, right? The actions you take right now when everybody's facing a challenge can destroy your brand. So being aware, like, I don't want to come across as the pushy salesperson right now that's incongruent with who you are and what you want your brand to stand for. And you don't want to be pegged that person, because you could destroy what you spent 20 years building. So I think that was a really good call by you. 2 things. Let's talk about 40% of your business comes from Sphere. What do you do to cultivate? Like, I'm an agent listening to the podcast. Okay, I've had some past sales. I've got a little bit of a past client. I know some local people, so I got a little Sphere going. How do I turn the Sphere into transactions?
Man, first and fourmost, look, I don't even do a great job at my Sphere. I know I could do 10 times better. I know I could go to dump all my at my experience level. I know I could dump all my marketing in the trash, not spend $1, just spend money on my Sphere and sell 50 homes a year. And that'll pay me, enough to maintain my family, maybe buy some real estate investments and call it quits. Right. What I need to be better at is my Sphere, but in general, get on video. Everybody sees you on video. I don't go my son's baseball games, all the coaches, I coach with the coaches as well. And when are you going live today? And they're, and that's a compliment because they know what I do for a living. Simple things. If you don't have much money, I had shared years ago where I think less than $1,000 investment paid me $40,000 one year in commissions. And that was through Little League T-shirts, right? I spent, I don't know how many shirts I bought, but I had friends calling me saying, "Hey, Matt, we're at this tournament. There's Glassboro shirts with your name on the back all over this damn place." And I laughed. And that I think it was the second year that I was involved in the Little League, second or third. And I think we sold like 8 homes, because you're walking through an area watching a game, and I gave all the coaches shirts, right? Little League is, they don't have money. So, I said, look, I'm not going to put a billboard up for a couple $100 to just sit there. I'll put a billboard on everybody's back, though, for $5. Cost me a $5 T-shirt, right? And every coach is proud to walk around with the town's name on their chest in the town colors, and you got your stamp on the back. So that's a good, inexpensive thing. And we give those out at closing, too. So everybody that closes with us gets a shirt for them, their kids. We even got onesies.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you use some swag basically to get people to market the brand on your behalf. I've never strayed from T-shirts, man. T-shirts are it. Like, that's all we give out. T-shirts and a bottle of champagne. But people ask me, "Hey, can I get a new shirt?" Absolutely. Swing by the office. Come. They're happy to wear our billboard, right? Yeah, dude, I got a ClickFunnels T-shirt, dude. The damn thing is the most comfortable T-shirt I own.
That's it.
Like
My
I think I
friends take
signed up.
pictures and like on vacation with them.
Yeah, I think I signed up twice with two different accounts to get two different shirts from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love that idea. So, okay, so we're just building relationships. I love that. Now let's get into expireds. I know you said you had mentioned mailing. You're not doing it right this second, but what's the expired campaign, so to speak, that you like to run?
So I have done expireds consistently for probably 15 years. Um, Daily expireds, I have a big market, so I cover 3 counties. So we can probably send about 10 a day, right, on your average month. And then the first of the month, you can hit 150 or 200 of them. But basically, what I have always sent is something in a letter, right, some sort of opening letter. And somehow you have to get it opened. So before I had the money to mail it, I had gas money. So what did I do? I drove to the door, right? So I drove to the door and I put a candy bar. I think I used, was it Payday? Yeah, I think I used Payday or 100 grand.
100 grand, yeah.
Right. And I used Paydays. I definitely used Paydays. And I hung it on the door and I said, sorry, your last realtor failed. Call me if you want your payday. Here's a free candy bar on me. And,
Awesome.
yeah. And so that would get people, up to laugh and, whatever. And then we used lumpy mail, right? Somehow put something in the envelope that people, if you ever got a credit card in the mail or you don't have a credit card and all of a sudden you get something from MasterCard with something that feels like a credit card in it, you open it up and you're like, wait, did I apply for something? What is this? And then you opened it, right? So that's open rate. So we always put something. We were using gold, those chocolate coins, casino chips, anything to make a bump in the envelope. And I had to learn over the years all the, issues with mail and how what they would let you mail and wouldn't let you mail, what would cost more or less. So anyway, an interesting letter that gets opened is all I ever sent. Followed by in the past, I guess 5 years, we've done 1 or 2 postcards after the initial mailing because now I've been told by people that have hired me that they got 25 pieces of mail on day number 1. So by day number 2, if you're a day late, they're just throwing it out because they're sick of realtors. But again, make it something bigger than normal on day 1, and you should be following it up, with calling. I personally don't prospect expireds that often. I do have an ISA. Right now she's not working, but once this all levels out, she'll be working again, and she'll be calling them, following up, and mentioning our mail piece. And yeah, I mean, just consistent follow up, and I bring them to a website, mattsoldmyexpired.com, and I show samples, samples of, hey, this home was on the market with ABC Real Estate for 5, 6, 8 months, whatever. We sold it in 60 days, 40 days, 1 week. Specific examples of, hey, yeah, we did it better. Look here. And if I have a video to follow that up, here's the seller. Here, listen to what they said.
Golden nugget right there. If for people who are listening, you drove them to a niched landing page that speaks directly to them as expired. You bought a vanity URL that literally called out their challenge. You're an expired. Yeah. And you shared examples. I love that. And for the agent who's saying, well, I've never sold an expired, look at your brokerage, search every sale they've ever had, and go back and see if it was previously expired. Nowhere does it say you have to say you sold it. You can use the word we sold it. Yeah. And go do the research. If you're in a brokerage, I guarantee at some point your broker has sold a home that previously expired. So I absolutely would go do that. And then what you're doing beautifully is putting some real specific results like number of days, percentage of list price to sales price, multiple offers sold over asking. That really makes that expired lead question, hey, maybe I just had the wrong agent. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't my house. Maybe it wasn't my sales price. So those right there, this is worth the entire call, just this expired. Sending something that's lumpy, making it unique so it gets opened, drive them to a specific landing page, show some results, and then, if they're interested in contacting you, having a contact form.
Yeah, we did the same thing with So before, as I said, I started in real estate and I was heavy with real estate investors. So we learned short sales before any agents knew what they were, right? Before the 2008-ish crash where everybody had to learn a short sale. So what we did, we used to knock on doors and send letters to short sales saying, hey, we have an investor. We noticed, your house is up for auction or coming up or whatever. The bank filed foreclosure against you. So we use similar mail along with, again, dropping off at the door to MattSoldMyShortSale.com. And, when 2008, 9, 10 happened and now, a third of the market is short sale. And, I always laughed at any seller who called me and said, well, I have to do a short sale. Why should I hire you? I said, look, I'll never compete for your listing as a short sale. I said, you're welcome to go to MattSoldMyShortSale.com and see my results. Good luck if you find anybody else that knows more than me about short sale, right? And, having that stamp of I sold this house, here's what they owed, here's what the bank got, and the bank paid them $3,000, $5,000, $30,000 I had a couple times. That's it. Proof's in the pudding.
Yeah,
right?
I love that.
So.
Cool, man. I want to be respectful of your time, so we'll wrap it up with this. What advice would you give to an agent who really has a goal of becoming a dominant go-to agent in their market?
I would say what I would do and what I teach in this market now is social media marketing first. Learn it, understand it, become a student to everybody teaching how to properly market on social media, not posting yourself in a house. That works a little bit, but learn the science behind it, and then touch your database, touch your family, touch your friends, and touch your, if you're old enough to be a homeowner, touch your neighborhood, right? Because those are the people that need help. And today in these current times with COVID going on, be a resource for people. You don't have to know every single company's mortgage laws, but you can tell everybody, hey, send me your mortgage company name. I'll reply and get you access to your company's application for relief, right? Something as simple as that will put you front and center as an expert in their minds, and remind them that you're a small business, just like, anybody that's temporarily off work like they are. And that'll help you not only sell real estate, a little bit of real estate today, but a lot tomorrow, right? So.
That's awesome, man. Hey, thank you so much for carving out some time and giving back to the real estate community and sharing some things that have been working well that agents can simply, easily follow after today's interview and implement into their own business, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dominant Agent Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please be sure to leave a comment and review on whatever platform you're listening on so that we can continue to bring you the very best guests.